I don't think Johnny does.
You don't think Johnny does?
No. No, I don't think so.
I mean, it's just because he would light his partner on fire, or...
No, he very specifically has control over his flame on, flame off.
Oh, right, sorry. I'm thinking the Venture Brothers version of the character.
Right. Where if oxygen is...
As soon as he's exposed to oxygen, he's just burning in pain, massive flame. But
it's kind of what they do in the 94 Roger Corman
wait,
version.
really? Are you kidding me?
Where he just, like, catches fire and freaks out. Not that if he touches air, he like is on fire the whole time.
Oh, so there's absolutely no way that version of the Human Torch goes down.
No. I do. My mistake for not mentioning in the last episode when we were talking about the 1994 unreleased Roger Corman Fantastic Four film, that the climax of the film is a 1994 CGI Human Torch flying after, I think, a rocket or a meteor or something. It is pure, like, Z-less Tron effects. And
Lord.
It is... Anyway, no, absolutely not.
No, there's no possible way he goes down. No. Mm-mm. But Johnny Storm in general, outside of that.
Well, you know, these movies have not been good, but they've mostly gotten the character of Johnny correct. He's not always quite that douchebaggy.
I remember Chris Evans' version of the character in particular is pretty douchebaggy.
Yeah, he is. He tones it down a little bit in the second movie.
I don't know if I would qualify Michael B. Jordan's version as a douchebag. He's more of just a guy with some daddy issues.
He does have quite a few daddy, which is one of the things I liked about that movie. We'll get to that. Yeah. Kind of an obnoxious... I think Chris Evans might be the closest to the comic book. Maybe
okay.
If you like took it down to like an 8.
If he's at a 10.
If he's at a 10.
Yeah. Okay.
Because like Ben and Johnny do genuinely like each other, but also pick at each other like brothers.
Okay. Yeah. Which I don't think they captured that at all in the new one. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself. But.
Right. Ben.
Would Ben go down?
Yeah. Is human tongue? Is stone tongue? I'm saying human tongue.
He might have a human tongue. He does actually talk.
Right. Yeah. I guess you couldn't really talk with like stone vocal cords.
Yeah. He's got to have meat in there somewhere, right? Yeah. Even if Josh Trank didn't want it to be in between his legs.
Right. I was thinking about that, and you've seen The Shape of Water, correct?
I actually haven't, but
really?
I know enough. I know enough about it.
It's phenomenal.
I mean, I love Guillermo del Toro, so I'm gonna watch it.
There's spoilers, I guess, slight spoilers for a movie that the poster is a woman kissing a fish man.
Yeah.
The woman has relations with the fish man.
Oh, yeah, she fucks that fish.
She fucks that fish.
Yeah.
And as we mentioned in the Mummy episode, that was supposed to be a creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yes.
And Universal's like, no, we don't like money or good things. But there's like a scene where she's telling, is it Octavia?
It was Octavia Spencer, and there's a whole
like a hand motion
about how it comes out and how big it is.
Right.
Yeah, I have actually seen that scene specifically.
I was like, maybe Ben's like that. The rocks kind of like
maybe
he like pushes the rocks aside.
They just like separate, and then a hog falls out.
Yeah. See, I was thinking like he uncovered it, like dug it up in the ground, less of a like James Bond style like evil villain layer. Anyway, I want to talk about the Black Bolt and how he would obliterate a woman if he tried to have relations
only
with
if
her.
he moaned during.
That would take a lot of control.
It would take a lot of control. He might have the discipline.
This is true. It's true. So the Black Bolt is part of the Inhumans, which is part of the Fantastic Four universe. He is Blackagar Boltigan, I think, something like that.
Blackagar Boltigan, I think it is. If you've seen Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, you have seen this character.
Yeah, he does pop up there. Right?
Along with what the fuck is his name? Who played Reed Richards?
Oh, John Krasinski.
John Krasinski, along with John Krasinski's Reed Richards, which the fans clamored for, and then he was written to be kind of a fucking idiot. Just.
I liked his performance.
His performance was not bad, but
he's a bit of a dummy.
The dialogue literally has him spill the beans on what Black Bolt can do, which just opens the door for Wanda to fuck everyone's shit up.
Reed.
Reed.
Not your best moment.
No.
Anyway, if he opened his mouth and made a noise, it would obliterate a woman's lady parts.
Absolutely. Yeah, it would.
Poor Medusa.
Terrifier scenario. Just.
My God. I just watched that last night.
I'm sorry.
Yep. I like clowns. I like spooky clowns. I didn't quite enjoy that film.
No.
But yeah, there's some awful lady part issues.
Happenings.
Yeah.
Bad times.
So I was just imagining the two of us like on the scene of this murder. We're like, this is some really bad issues.
This is a truly terrible occurrence.
What are you guys doing here?
What a bad scene.
Oh boy.
Get out of my crime scene.
ACAB indeed. Yeah, hey, welcome to DeRazzled. Forgot what we're doing for a second. We're the podcast that takes award-winning worst films and fixes them. I'm Jack Culbertson, and here to host alongside me, as always, is the insufferable Joe Nealis.
Tell me how you really feel, Jesus.
Word salading beside him is what's left of my brain. Oh my God.
So we're continuing our discussion of 2015's Fantastic Four, co-winner of Worst Picture at that year's Razzies.
Which, you know, if you're tying with 50 Shades of Grey, which we covered last season.
Yep, sure did.
You're pretty bad.
You're pretty bad.
Pretty bad.
It's pretty bad.
Because it's not like we haven't covered other years where, wow, how did this not win? Oh, that movie.
Right. And you know, I'm not sure how I feel about it tying for Worst Picture. It's bad. It's real bad. It didn't make me 50 Shades of Grey made me angry. Yeah. This didn't make me angry.
I absolutely believe that the reason it tied, I can see why it'd be nominated.
Was that closing scene.
It was that fucking closing scene. That has to have been something added.
It had
in
to,
the reshoots.
Right? It feels so tonally mismatched with everything else.
I believe that the Razzies were probably scoring it based on the behind the scenes bullshit that was going on.
That could have something to do with it. I mean,
they do like to do that kind of thing.
Yeah. And there clearly was a lot.
Yeah. Whether it's true or not, stuff happened. So normally we do the critique in the first part, but we decided to move to the second. Why? Because I don't sleep anymore. So let's start with the good. So yeah, let's go ahead and start with what works.
Well, no, there was one thing I want to clarify from part one real quick. Sure. You mentioned behind the scenes drama they may have been taking into account. Mm-hmm. We had wondered whether or not Josh Trank's tweet about the movie preceded the release. It did by hours. It was the same day.
Josh, I understand you're upset. You're probably feeling your emotions.
August 7th, 2015 is hours because there was a review that came out saying that this film would be, quote, studied in film schools as an example of what not to do.
That does hurt.
That does hurt. That does hurt. That is also kind of the basis of our entire show in some ways. Huh. I mean, we're nicer about it.
Yeah.
In most cases. For example, we are going to talk a good deal about what does work in this movie.
Yeah.
But there is actually a Polygon article from May 5th, 2020 titled "The Post-Disaster Artist." After his Fantastic Four reboot bombed and life fell apart, Josh Trank came back for more. Written by Matt Patches. So that's where I found that particular detail. Same day.
I'm trying to imagine because he's not older. He might have at the time even been younger than us right now. He might have been.
It might have been, yeah,
early 30s.
I would think that's correct. Yes.
Would I have had a similar reaction? I mean, I don't know how to use Twitter mercifully, so I wouldn't have been able to do that.
Oh,
but...
no. He was young. He was younger than us. Oh, he was 30. He was 31 the year of the film. He was 26 when he directed Chronicle.
Fuck you, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, good for you, but also, god damn it. God, that is hard. I mean, not that it's like hard. That much younger than us.
It's not, but still, like, that's a young guy to be directing like a Hollywood tentpole franchise like that. Like, it's a big fucking deal. And
I've become jaded enough that if somebody wrote that about me, I'm like, yeah, you're right. Whereas
I made a movie about a butt, and I'm immune to this.
You can't hurt me anymore.
You can't hurt me any more than I've hurt myself. Here's Knifebreaker 7. Shut up.
Yep. You know, I used to think about the quote from, I forget which of the Venture Brothers dudes it was that said it, where they realized that like their entire life has been the Venture Brothers, like making the Venture Brothers stuff.
It was probably, I imagine it would probably be Doc who said that. Which that's not entirely true.
It's not entirely true.
He's a painter and he's been in bands and shit. He's got other shit going on. And Jackson Public worked on The Tick for all those years. And he is voice acting all over the place. Like, they've had other things they've done.
I mean, artists never self-deprecate.
So. No, never. What are you talking about?
See last episode. Or 2 episodes ago.
See 5 seconds ago. Like, what are you talking about?
But yeah, like them like, oh man, the largest project of my life is this show about a bunch of assholes. And like as the more time goes on, I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I could do Knifebreaker movies for the rest of my life. Just let me do that.
Yeah, it'd be fun. We'd have a great time with that.
We would have a great time, yeah. Like, and then I would go off in the corner and write some like brooding piece of literature that would never see the light of day.
Well, you never know. Yeah.
Unless I die a horrendous death.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves here. So let's talk about this movie.
Let's talk about the cast. Well, who in the cast? We talked about this a little bit in the first part, but who in the cast did we like?
So obviously Michael B. Jordan.
Yes,
I think he's just enjoyable. He's charismatic. I think he captures that side of Johnny Storm pretty well. He doesn't come across as a douchebag
for the tone that they're going for, which is not a tone I like. But he matches the tone. They're
going for more of like a grounded grimdark kind of thing.
Yes, which 99% of the time I'm all about, but not the Fantastic Four.
It seems like a misstep.
Yeah.
Which, we'll get into. Right. Yeah, I think Michael B. Jordan was very good.
Worked with the daddy issues really well.
He worked with the daddy issues really well. The daddy.
Yeah, it was probably my favorite part.
I liked him quite a bit.
A big change from the comics.
Yeah. Reg E. Cathy played Dr. Franklin Storm. Yeah. I thought he was good. I'm not sure how I feel about Tim Blake Nelson.
I like him as an actor usually.
I love him as an actor. Yeah. It's just
weirdly cast.
It did feel like miscasting, but he also like wasn't bad.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like, had I never seen him in anything else, would I have enjoyed this? Maybe.
I needed more Tim Heidecker.
Remind me of Tim Heidecker?
Tim Heidecker from Tom Goes to the Mayor and Tim and Eric Awesome Show. Great job.
That was too tongue in cheek for me.
He plays Reed's dad for like the half second that he's on screen.
Gotcha.
Cheering on the Jets or Giants or wherever,
what
or whatever fucking
weird
football
cast.
team. It's a weird cast. That's why I was like, him and Chet Hanks just kind of like threw me for a loop in the very beginning. Like,
are you guys all friends, or it's not like a Star Wars movie where it's like everyone's clamoring to have a small part,
right? Yeah, this is early in the Marvel boom, and I think are we still in the midst of the Nolan Batman movies at this point?
This is
2015.
I think post.
Is it post?
I think so.
No, you're right. Yeah, this is post. Yeah.
The Dark Knight Rises 2012, I think.
Yeah, no, you're right. So there was like some acclaim to some superhero films, but like Fox was not exactly batting 1,000 at this point. Like they had already fucked up the X-Men to a pretty decent degree.
At that point, yeah.
Though they were recovering a little bit with First Class, and I think Days of Future Past was around this time, if not like coming up.
I can't remember if it was right before or right after.
So like they had that going for them, which is nice.
But like, I think to be an A-list actor or even a B or C, and just hop on a franchise because you're like, oh, I like this franchise. It has to be like a Star Wars. Like, you have to have nostalgia for it.
Yeah.
And I don't know that all these actors had nostalgia for the Fantastic Four. They might
Who
have.
knows?
They might. A bunch of comic book nerds.
I could maybe see Tim Heidecker being that. I don't know shit about Chet Hanks outside of he hates his dad. So
weird.
Weird. It's very weird. How'd you feel about Miles Teller? Or do you think that he worked, or are we going to talk about him later?
I didn't care for him.
Okay, we'll talk about him later.
Yeah.
Okay.
We basically covered the actors that I enjoyed, and the rest are either fine or I didn't like them.
Yeah, I think I'm on the same page with you there.
Great. What about the story worked?
So I think I mentioned in part 1 Ben and Reed's relationship.
Yeah.
I think that worked. That was well handled from the time that they were kids, and for the most part through their adulthood.
Yeah.
It's hard. I got to put scare quotes around that word there because it's hard to read what age they actually are supposed to be at sometimes.
Man, imagine watching The Fantastic Four and you're like, wait, you're in
high school, college?
Right. You're 40. Like, the ages are all over the place.
It's very strange. But no, that relationship I think played out very well. I think that the animus that's built up toward Reed, it makes sense. Also, the Johnny Storm daddy issues.
Yes.
I think that was handled pretty well.
Those two story threads I liked up until the 1 hour mark. Or 1 year mark, sorry, not 1 hour.
Yeah.
So there's a point in the movie where we jump ahead a year. It's like pretty close after the transformation.
It's like, it's after Reed flees.
Yeah.
After they've been like taken into a government facility for observation and whatever. Yeah.
So the Fantastic Four, the actual origin, because I've seen many different versions of it.
Yeah.
Reed is working on a rocket called Marvel 1.
Of course.
Which was not as tongue-in-cheek at that point because Marvel had like just been created.
Sure.
Experimental rocket, and they were going to shut down funding. So he and Ben, who's the pilot, and then the other two, because why not, are going to experiment, are going to take the rocket, go into space, do the thing that he wanted to do, and then after wowing everyone, they'll give him funding.
Yeah.
But they get struck by cosmic rays. There's not enough shielding on the rocket, and then they change into, what they change into.
Right.
That's fine for 1961. I like that they did something different here where they go into the negative zone, or they don't call it that in this.
Yeah, it's called Another Dimension. I think they call it Zero or something like that.
Planet Zero or something
Planet
like that.
Zero or something, which I could have done without that. But they go into another dimension.
Yeah.
And
which in the comics, the negative zone is way more psychedelic. So
cool.
Yeah. Jack Kirby did some like really cool shit with it, with like collaging.
Okay. Of course he did. Yeah, no, his collages are a big fucking deal.
Yeah, they're really cool. But this is very much just like, it's a rock planet with green.
Yeah, basically. It made me think about that movie 9. It was like an animated film with stitched together Sackboy like characters.
Not Tim Burton.
Yeah, not Tim Burton movie that heavily featured Coheed and Cambria's Welcome Home in the trailers. Yeah,
okay.
This is one of the few things about that stands out to me. Also, the second time has come up in conversation in 2 days. It's weird.
9 or Coheed and Cambria?
9. Huh. Though also Coheed and Cambria because I brought them
right.
up. Okay, but
it's me. I'm the fault.
It's me. I'm the problem. It's me. Anyway, yeah, I agree that like the kind of hurt pride kind of build up toward them like taking their initial trip that causes the accident and causes them to get their powers. I think that works in this, at least for the most part. I think the roping Ben into it seemed a little weird because like he's not a pilot in this one. He's just kind of a mechanically inclined dude, and he's not doing any of that work on this. He just is kind of invited drunkenly.
So like what I liked about it is that Reed says he's not going to go on this mission without his BFFFF.
Right, because he wouldn't be on this journey without him,
right,
to begin with. So it makes sense to him and him alone, right, for Ben to be there.
But Ben could have also been a little bit more technically inclined in a way that would have been helpful.
Yes.
And it would have gone down smoother.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that.
I am curious. So the one iteration of the Fantastic Four I'm not familiar with, and they have said that they've taken from it is the Ultimates universe.
Okay.
Really quickly explaining the Ultimates. In the early 2000s, Marvel relaunched the entire Marvel universe in its own separate thing called the Ultimates universe.
Yeah.
Kind of as a way for people who wanted to try out a character without having to have 50 years of history in a Marine. I like that. So I was like, nah, I'm good. I'll read the 300 back issues of X-Men. But if you like, I like the character of Spider-Man, but I know nothing about him, you could hop on with issue 1 and you would be fine.
Sure.
So they did that with most of their bigger characters, including the Fantastic Four, which was co-written by, I think, Brian Michael Bendis and my old nemesis, Mark Millar.
There it is. Yep.
Yeah. Shit, I lied. I lied to you. Well, not kind of.
You're going to bring up Grant Morrison?
I am.
Okay.
I am.
Yeah.
We do have technically a split. But,
one per episode this time.
Yeah. So Grant Morrison was originally going to write that comic.
Okay.
But Marvel pissed them off so bad that he signed an exclusivity deal with DC.
Oh, geez. That's when that happened.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I would have loved to have seen what they would have done with the Fantastic Four. Yeah. I think they would have done fucking awesome. But they then went on to write Batman for 6 years. So, like, that's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
So I do want to read into it. They do tend to do more science-y, evil government stuff in that universe.
Okay.
But the reason I bring it up is in the 616 original Marvel universe, Sue and Johnny are not scientists, and I have no fucking idea why they're there.
Huh.
And in all of the other iterations, excluding this one, I don't know why they're there. Like, in the Corman version, it's literally because Reed's like, yeah, she's pretty hot. And she's like, well, I'm not going to leave my brother behind. And that's it.
It's he horny. She needs brother?
Yeah. Because Johnny's I don't know.
Sure.
But I heavily suspect that in the Ultimates version, Sue and Johnny are probably science-y related.
And that's kind of what we see in this movie, whereas she is literally like studying to become a scientist and has this like wild skill for pattern recognition and so on and so
which
forth.
I kind of like.
And he is super like mechanically inclined. Like he built that entire Toyota or whatever it is he's drag racing from the ground up, and he's putting together the modules for the initial teleporter and all that. Like you see that he is inclined and knows how to do this shit. Like he's very good with his hands, even though he has an arm in a sling. Like he's welding with an arm in a sling.
As you do.
Yeah.
What I would have liked to have seen is, because these three characters are all very sciencey and understand science.
Yeah.
And then you have Ben, who's like,
yeah.
I don't.
I grew up in a junkyard.
Yeah. My brother's
Chet Hanks. What up?
Yeah. Is to show, like, to use that to show that he feels even more like an outsider.
Yeah.
But they don't.
They don't. No.
And I don't know that I like having 3 out of the 4 be science nerds, which is something I take care of in the fix.
Okay.
Anything else for the story that you enjoyed?
No.
Same.
Okay.
I hated Dr. Doom.
We'll get into it. We'll
I know.
We'll get into it.
Put that back in.
Put that back in for a second.
Themes. I don't know. Daddy issues?
The daddy issues worked. I think the daddy issues worked. Yeah, I mean, because all of them to some extent have daddy issues, with the exception of Victor and Ben, I guess.
Do we even see Ben's dad?
No, we see Ben's mom for like a second.
Yeah.
She beats up Chet Hanks after Chet Hanks beats him up.
Yeah. She sure does.
But that's about it. Okay. We just know that he has a troubled home life, so we have no idea what the dad situation there is.
Reed's parents don't understand him.
Reed's parents don't understand him, and I mean, I wish we had gotten a little bit more Tim Heidecker. I'm just gonna keep riding. I'm gonna keep hammering on that.
I'll try to push it into my fix somehow.
Yeah, I just think there was a lot more like comedic opportunity with him there, or even just serious acting opportunity. Like he's actually a pretty good actor, but yeah.
Would you like to guess what Dr. Storm's comic book origin is?
Like Dr. Franklin Storm?
Is that what his name is?
That's what it says name in this. Yeah,
I guess that would make sense that she would then name her kid Frank. Okay, yeah.
What's his origin?
He's a bum. He's a bum.
He's a bum? That's
it?
He
He gambles all of his money away and then the loan sharks come after him, and then he fights back and actually kills one and gets sent to prison. So that's how Johnny and Sue get sent to go live with her aunt, who runs a boarding house.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So
also, they're from Long Island, so you have to read all of their with that accent in your head.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad they didn't do that.
No, I very much like what they did with. It also gives them a reason for being there.
Yes. Yeah, that was effective. Oh God, what other themes? What are themes?
I don't really know.
Science,
government untrustworthy,
government bad.
Yeah,
government shady bad, not good. Yeah.
Air duct squeezy good.
Air duct squeezy
like
squeezy
Go-Gurt.
I don't know if that's a theme.
It's just a weird kink that's been unlocked.
You hope this doesn't awaken anything in me.
I think that's it for themes.
Honestly, yeah, there's not a whole lot else going on there. Because you can't. I guess there's maybe like a loose argument for like found family or whatever, but like even that's real fucking flimsy and shoehorned in this. I think, but
I mean, it's inherently within the context of the story, but they don't do anything with it.
Yeah,
other than that scene at the end.
Yeah, and the scene at the end so bad.
Production.
What worked with the production?
Yeah,
I mean, it sounds like maybe had some problems.
Yeah. Like, I don't really like the costumes. Don't really like the sets.
I don't like the costumes.
Didn't like the music. The effects department did their job. So
yeah,
good for them.
Yeah, the effects department did their job. I think the Ben effects in particular, I think were pretty effective. Like when the reveal that he's a big rock man and like how he's having trouble like moving his head and shit, and like when he tries to turn toward Reed's voice, it's real unnerving. That I think worked really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, like overall, I think the reveal effects of like whenever they are first showing what's happening with their powers, like the way that Sue kind of like phases in and out uncontrollably, the clear like panic and discomfort of burning alive that Johnny's having for a second there, and again just Reed's like Stretch Armstronginess,
right?
And like
it didn't look silly.
Like it didn't look silly, and it very easily could have looked silly. So bravo for that.
That's kind of it, huh?
That's about it, though, right?
Yeah, everything else would be like, oh, I like this little story beat, but that's not production.
Right.
Great. Hey, what didn't work about this fantastic movie?
Oh, buddy.
Fucking Doctor Doom.
Fucking Doctor Doom.
What the hell?
I
don't even know that it's necessarily the actor.
Toby Kibble is his name.
I don't know him from anything. I think he's probably just playing what he was told to play.
Honestly, I think that he much like Kate Mara falls prey to the script in this case, because I don't think his performance is necessarily bad. Like there are moments where I even think he does a damn good job, like in his speech where he's trying to convince them to take the trip and to be the ones who are remembered. Because who do you who do you remember? Like, do you know the name of anyone who actually fucking designed the moon landing module? Like
I was yelling at the screen. That's Michael Collins, you fucker. Because it was right. Like, you don't remember who was in the Apollo 11
Well,
shuttle.
I think he didn't even mean who was in it. I think he meant who designed it, like who built the damn thing, right?
I guess.
Because I don't think Michael Collins built it, did he?
No, he was just pilot.
Yeah, he was just in it, which like cool. We do know his name. Yeah, I couldn't.
He wrote a really depressing book about it.
Oh,
yeah.
I actually kind of want to read that.
Yeah, me too.
I think he had moments where he shined, but this version of Victor Von Doom just sucks, and that's not. I don't think that's Toby's fault. I think that's entirely on whatever iteration of the script, whether it's Trank or Kinberg or whoever. Like it's like he's just not well written. Here's
what is the, if you were to boil everything down to a singular problem, they were afraid of making a cheesy superhero movie.
Yeah.
And the Fantastic Four
are cheesy.
They're in the title.
It's
cheesy.
It is when you have the word fantastic immediately in the fucking title. It's going to be cheesy. It's going to be campy. Lean in.
It's the same like when we had zombie movies for a while that like didn't want to say the word zombie.
I mean, Shaun of the Dead did that, but but I love, but
right.
that's also like a very loving send up of the entire genre. But yeah,
Like if you
walkers,
fucking yeah, I mean it's fine. That was fine. But I hate when you hate the source material.
yes,
And it's known.
yeah, it's kind of like what we're running into with The Witcher. I feel like
I was thinking of Velma. There's been a lot of,
also Velma,
which I've not watched. So
I've
don't plan on watching it.
I watched Nerd Sync, Scott Nicewander's video about his reaction to the first 2 episodes of Velma, which largely boils down to who the fuck is this for, and why are you antagonistic toward your audience and medium?
Yeah,
it's very strange.
Not that like Scooby-Doo couldn't use an update, but why hate the thing you're making?
Why hate the thing you're making? Precisely. Like why be needlessly antagonistic toward like what makes this thing this thing?
So if you didn't want a kind of cheesy, optimistic, goofy 60s superhero team, please don't turn into like a Cronenbergian, moody piece.
I think there's even ways that you could like incorporate stuff like that without sacrificing what makes this thing, right?
There were some moments in the Jessica Alba Fantastic Four that were Cronenbergian.
Sure.
When he tries to like shave and he's stretching his face
out.
out.
God, yeah, that was rough, huh?
Yeah, I didn't like that. So yeah.
But yeah, I think like this Doctor Doom though, from like top to bottom, from like the way he's written, and then after he comes back, the way he looks.
Yeah,
it's just it's bad design. It's bad movie villain. It's not good.
Aside from him, because like I struggled to even remember any scenes with him in the second half
because you fell asleep.
Because I fell asleep, but also because he was boring.
He was.
What did they do with his face? I can't even remember.
It's just that they claimed that his environment suit collapsed and fused to his skin, so it looked like it was like because it had like that mouth covering, like the environment suits had this like weird mouth covering thing, which really was a weird aesthetic choice because then they're like you can't see anyone's emotions or reactions to things outside of their eyeballs,
right?
So like all of that just kind of like collapsed and fused to his face.
Didn't think I would actually like the Jessica Alba version better.
Yeah.
The 94 one is comic book accurate, and it looked goofy as fuck.
Of course it would.
Because they spent $5 to make it. One of the things I remember from the documentary, I think it's called Doomed, the Untold Fantastic Four story.
Okay.
Is that some of the scenes have the waistband pulled up, and it's to keep the four from falling off.
Oh my god. Guys.
Oh, those poor actors. Themes, I mean, again,
we're jumping ahead to themes.
As far as like cast that I hated, most of them I'm like, you're fine. You had what you had to deal with.
Yeah, because I don't think the two that really strike me as like not working are Kate Mara and Toby Kebbell.
Yeah,
and I guess Miles Teller to an extent as well. We haven't really talked about him.
Yeah, he works in the scenes with Jamie Bell.
Yes, I agree.
But he's a really weird Reed Richards.
Mm.
I liked his, I mean, it's not Miles Teller, but I liked his character as like the young Reed Richards. But when he's an adult, I'm like, I don't know what to think of you. You're not a leader. You're not really a very good scientist, and you're not bonding with Sue or Johnny.
No.
So
what is happening? What do you we know that he's off like trying to figure out a way to create another teleporter and get back and find a way to heal Ben, I guess. This Reed Richards is entirely built around his guilt for what he did to Ben.
Yeah, which I'm just really tired of seeing that.
Yeah.
Because every Fantastic Four movie is about that.
Yeah.
Especially the two from the early 2000s.
See, I don't remember that aspect of them that well, but I'm also not surprised.
The first one has been his like fiance dumps him because she's like, I can't sleep with this rock man.
Yeah. Not with that attitude.
And right. And then the second one is about Doctor Doom being like, hey, if you come hang out with me, I'll cure you. Which is another thing that, happens in the comics all the time. Come on, Ben. Oh, man. Have you ever read Neil Gaiman's, I think it's 1602?
I have not, no.
It's basically like, what if the Marvel Universe was jump-started in the, I guess that would be Elizabethan era?
Oh, God. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. But there's a Victor Von Doom, and he keeps these freaks locked in his basement, specifically like a rock man. It's pretty cool.
Nice.
It's dry, but I often find Neil Gaiman to be a little dry.
He's on the dry side most of the time. Yeah.
It's pretty interesting. It's a pretty interesting read.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah. Who's the government stooge?
That was Tim Blake Nelson.
Yeah, I still don't know how to feel about him.
Yeah, like I'm really torn on that because like his performance isn't bad, but he feels miscast.
And I think I just saw him in what was the Guillermo del Toro anthology series on Netflix?
Oh, Cabinet of Curiosities.
Yeah, I want to say, don't quote me on this, but I want to say he's in like the first episode, and he plays like a shitty old, like white guy.
Sure, yeah, that's not surprising. He also voices a character or two in his Pinocchio.
No kidding.
Yeah,
well, he's really good as the like shitty old white guy with like a big pickup truck. Because he'll buy storage spaces.
Okay.
That are auctioned off when nobody comes for them. And then madness and mayhem ensue because Del Toro and monsters.
Sure. Yeah. Yes. Delightful.
Yeah.
Yes. Give it to me.
It got rated pretty low, but I actually was like, of the three I watched, was the one I enjoyed the most. So I'm like, I know you can do evil goons, so like, why do you feel weird in this one?
I think part of it is like he's trying to like restrain himself around like around Franklin and the others. So like he's not trying to like give up his true aim. Like you don't really get the whole vibe for what he's trying to do until you see him in that meeting with other like government and military officials, and he mentioned something about like controlling the interdimensional planet and our own, which. I guess at this point we're kind of jumping into what doesn't work with the story, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they keep making allusions to how Earth is dying and how like they need to save Earth. They need to do something to take care of the Earth. What the fuck are you referencing? Like, I mean, obviously climate change, right? But at the same time, just fucking say it. Why are you being so vague about it that we don't actually know what you're talking about or what you're looking for on this planet? Because every time Franklin talks about what they're looking for on this mystery planet, it changes. It's something else. Like he goes from talking about like maybe we can learn about the beginnings of our evolution as a planet and like about our history, and like maybe we could learn how we could find materials to cure diseases or whatever. It's like, what are you fucking going on about? This is this weird utopian pipe dream of like this is going to be our cure all for all ills to visit this other planet, and then Victor Von Doom comes back and is like, no, you've destroyed your own planet. You're not going to destroy my new claimed home world now. Like what do you mean?
I'm really confused because the Planet Zero I remember watching before I fell asleep was not a very nice place.
No, it's a bunch of weird green energy.
It may be fascinating to study from a scientist's point of view, but as far as like saving our own planet or using the resources of that one,
you have no reason to think that. Like outside of like a little vial of dirt that you've tested that maybe it's some degree chemically compatible with our own, but you know for a fact from that sample that you have to wear like environment suits to even be able to visit this place. What do you hope to learn?
It's dumb.
It's just dumb.
I wonder how it feels to be Daniel Craig to know that you've delivered the best line of your entire life, and it's all downhill from here.
Well, let's wait for Knives Out 3.
His delivery on that line is just so good.
It's amazing. What else doesn't work with the story?
Any kind of romantic relationship between Sue and Reed.
Just gonna say that.
Awful.
There's like a moment where you could tell there's like a spark there for like half a second. I think it's whenever he tries to approach her while she's got her headphones in, and
don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that. But B, like she takes her headphone out, and like you tell she's a little annoyed about it. But like they start talking. That's how you start to learn about her pattern recognition stuff and everything. And I think
she listens to Portishead,
and she listens to Portishead.
Appreciate.
Well, I mean, I appreciate it.
I love Portishead.
Yeah,
but just keep it away from this fucking movie.
It's also a mistake because there's no fucking Portishead in the soundtrack, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I don't think there is. I'm pretty sure there's not.
How did you do that? Why would you do that? That would have been so much better. Like, if you had come back into this moment where she's, like, putting patterns together to figure out where the fuck Reed is, and then Portishead's playing in the background, it's a callback. That's like 101 shit. Come on.
I was just reading before we started recording how, and I've not watched this movie since it was in theaters, but do you remember AI, the Spielberg movie that was supposed to be a Kubrick movie?
The Haley Joel Osment one?
Yeah.
Vaguely.
Are you familiar with the band Ministry?
Yeah.
Apparently they're in that movie as a band.
Are you kidding me?
And I would have been too young to have caught the reference. But I'm like, I didn't think I'd ever want to say this, but I want to rewatch AI.
Yeah.
One, because Jude Law plays a sex robot.
I mean, yeah.
But also apparently Ministry's in it
several times. In there. All right.
I'm like, what? What if they just wrote Portishead and then they asked Portishead if they could use their songs, and they said
no.
Absolutely not. Not.
But they left the band name, and they never found a placeholder because all the other shit going on. Jesus.
All those fisticuffs between Josh Trank and Miles Teller.
No, I choose to believe that all of that was specifically about Portishead.
And which song to use.
Yep.
And there's, you know what? None of it. None of it.
You'll get bowling for soup and you'll like it. No!
They have some pretty psychedelic songs, too. They could have worked that in.
They could have worked a lot, yeah.
God, and maybe we'll get into this with my fix, because my fix is actually semi-grounded.
Yeah.
But I struggle with whether or not the psychedelic aspects of early Fantastic Four should be worked into a Fantastic Four movie when you have Doctor Strange. Because it's a very similar aesthetic. Ish.
Yeah.
I feel shitty. I forget the artist who worked on Doctor Strange. It's not Kirby.
It's oh god. I knew this.
But I want to say Bill Everett, but that's not it either.
No, it's not Bill Everett. It's fuck.
It's not Ramada, is it?
I don't think it's Ramada.
I'm just naming all of the artists from that time period.
I don't know, man.
Anyway,
yeah.
That was kind of like his signature style. Kirby's was again more of like the collage weirdness. Could you have both in what, I mean, the general public probably knows a little bit about Fantastic Four, Marvel, but Fox.
Yep.
I'm ranting. Anyway, the movie sucked.
Anything else that didn't work that you want to highlight?
With Sorry?
With anything. Yeah, do we want to move on from Story? And
okay, so we've mentioned several times that the quality of the film drops when they do the 1 year jump.
That was Steve Ditko. I think you were thinking of
Steve Ditko. It was Steve Ditko. That's who it was.
Okay. Yeah, so quality drops after the 1 year later, objectively.
Yeah.
It absolutely does drop.
What about it is the suck?
Oh God, I think you lose track of the character relationships a good bit. This weird like guerrilla runaway Reed Richards that you've got going on is odd. Like I kind of like that. Like it's the Captain Nemo thing. Like that little detail that comes back and bites him in the ass and it allows Sue to pick up on his pattern and on his trail. But I think a lot of the problem is a lot of the stuff in the end feels unearned or rushed or ill or not pulled off well enough. Or in some cases, in case of like everything that happens with Doctor Doom, not set up well enough. Yeah. And I think the larger issue there is this film is paced like molasses for such a long time. Like as good as a lot of the stuff early on is, it really feels like they could have gotten through so much of that so much faster.
Yeah.
And just gotten into more relationship building and seeding more of what happens at the end. And I just don't think it was just not that caretaken.
I feel like there's also a lot more superhero punchy punch scenes in the second half, without any real stakes to them.
Yes.
And because you don't care about the relationships between these characters, you're just like, oh, it's kind of like what Scott, Remy Speed Scott,
has
told me why he doesn't care for superhero movies is you'll have a movie it'll be doing the thing with like characters and story or whatever, and then it'll suddenly remember, oh right, we're a superhero movie, we have to fight.
Yeah, it's kind of like what Becca had a similar complaint about WandaVision. How the first several, like the vast majority of that is like really solid story and weirdness and character building and relationships, and then the last episode is just a big stupid fight.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I do very much like that show.
Oh, I love the show. It's just,
but it's definitely like, oh shit, we're Merle.
Yeah, exactly. It's a valid critique.
Yeah. Do you think this movie earned its accolades?
I'm gonna say yes.
Okay.
Though I still feel a little bit torn on Worst Picture co-win, just because again, 50 Shades of Grey made me angry, and this didn't make me angry. Like, it frustrated me for sure, but
it made me sleepy.
It made you sleepy. it was definitely frustrating at times, but like overall, I don't think I don't. It's still bad. Overall, it's still bad.
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't think it should have tied for Worst Picture. I feel like it's carrying the sins of all the other shitty superhero movies.
Yeah, kinda.
It was an easy target, easy big out in the front target, and yeah. I don't feel bad about shitting on it, but also I've watched worse Fantastic Four movies by now.
Yeah,
it's still the second worst, but
I think that's probably fair. Yeah, given I haven't watched Corman's, but it sounds like that was just a very unique, hard to beat mess.
It's very much a mess. I never thought it like the first Jessica Alba one is the one that I would watch again.
Yeah, I'd watch that again.
Even the second one I would watch again, but it's just very bland.
It is. Yeah, that's fair.
But Shiny Man.
The Shiny Man. You want to take a minute, take a break and talk about the Shiny Man, and then we'll come back?
Yeah, I want to be a crow.
Okay.
Welcome back to DeRazzled. We're now going to fix the Fantastic Four. Kinda.
Kind of.
Kind of.
Okay. What do you mean by kind of?
So I've mentioned before that I like the Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
I mostly know them either from their non-continuity stuff or when they show up when all the other heroes are like, shit, we need our friends here. And they're like, yeah, we'll help. We're all located in New York.
Okay.
So instead of fixing specifically Fantastic Four 2015 or any of the other ones, I'm going to tell you what I would do with a Fantastic Four movie.
Interesting. So is this going to be taking into account like the character exclusivity or anything?
Mm-hmm. Ish. So the way I'm going about it is if Fox came to me whatever they started developing this movie.
Sure.
And like, hey, what would you do with this movie? And I'd be like, this. And I guess in this scenario, they already have the actors cast.
And they just go, okay.
Yeah. So I'd like to give you some of the ingredients and see where we go with it.
Sure.
First of all, the very first thing I said when I started coming up with this idea is I don't want Doctor Doom in the first movie. And then I lied to myself. Kind of.
Okay.
So Victor's in the first movie. I don't want him as Doctor Doom in the first movie.
Okay, so he hasn't actually gone full villain.
Correct.
Okay.
As we discussed, I think a lot of studios have issue with the cheesiness of this franchise.
Yeah.
It was made in 1961. It's a pretty old franchise. The further back you go in comic books, the cheesier the heroes tend to get. I mean, what's Superman's name? Oh, Superman? Batman? Like, these are silly names.
They are very silly names, yes.
And I personally think that if you don't worry so much about whether something's silly or not, just accept it for what it is, everyone else will as well. Much like Batman. People pretty much at this point in time, except Batman is like a cool badass, but his name is still Batman.
His name is still Batman.
Yeah.
Yeah. He still has a villain named Man-Bat.
He does. Screech is real bad.
He does screech real bad.
Their name is the Fantastic Four.
It's cheesy.
It's cheesy.
It's going to be cheesy. Just be campy with it. Like,
I don't even think yes. What I think would work best is if you set the Fantastic Four in real time in 1961.
Okay.
So there's a couple of comics that have done similar things because comic book heroes don't normally age in real time, which is an issue when you have Superman meeting JFK and then also every president after him.
Yeah.
He also fought Muhammad Ali.
Guys.
It was friendly.
Sure, of course it was.
Right.
Yeah. It's a little friendly spar.
Right. Or when you run into issues like Tony Stark was in the Korean War and that's how he had his heart issues.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Punisher was in Vietnam.
Yeah.
These are permanent marks in history. So normally there's like a shifting timeline where now instead of saying the Punisher was in Vietnam, you say the Punisher was in a horrible war.
Yeah.
There's a branch that I decided to not go down where I ranted about how the Punisher is inherently attached to the Vietnam War and you can't really have him without that. But we won't go down that road.
Okay.
That's for when we cover, I don't know, Dolph Lundgren's Punisher. So what I would like to do is... Oh, I was going to mention the two comics that do this.
Yes.
So there's the DC version, which is called, I think it's called World's Finest Generations. World's Finest being a reference to the first comic that Superman and Batman buddied up in.
Oh, okay.
Where it starts with them meeting in 1939, I think, for the World's Fair, which I think was in New York. And then you have them age in real time so that by the time you get to like the 50s and 60s, they have kids, they're married, they're getting older, etc. They also did a similar thing on Marvel's side with Spider-Man. I have not read this one. I want to. Both Spider-Man and the Fantastic Four. So like what I'm proposing has kind of been done, but not in the direction I want to go in.
Sure.
So keep that in mind. I also want to bring in some ingredients from the comic book Unstable Molecules, which I mentioned to you as like my second favorite Fantastic Four story.
Yes.
Which is the Fantastic Four as non-powered people in the 60s, kind of trying to like deal with misogyny and shitty like things and civil rights movement. It's like real world problems.
Yeah.
And focusing more on the relationships between the characters.
Okay.
And then the last ingredient I want to bring in is the golden age of Marvel Comics, which would have been at that time called Timely Comics. The first, I forget what year it was the first Marvel comic came out, but it was like Marvel Comics #1.
Mm-hmm.
In the first issue, you have the Human Torch.
Yes.
Not the one we know, but a Human Torch.
Human Torch. Yeah. The idea of the Human Torch is established before the actual Fantastic Four.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's generally how it happened with a lot of the early characters. Like there's some Jack Kirby monster that's like a big Godzilla looking thing, but with a Dr. Doom mask.
Okay.
And they're like, I did like that mask. We're never using that character again.
We'll borrow that.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, that Marvel #1 also introduced Namor, didn't it? Or at least like the Submariner.
I think so. He's like one of the very, 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 very first characters in Marvel history.
Yeah.
I can't remember if it was that issue or before, but
Okay.
I'm pretty sure he's in there. So I want to introduce the idea of the Invaders, which is... I'm going to go with the original version because it's since been like retconned into being basically like the OG Avengers.
Okay.
But it predates kind of the Avengers.
Interesting. Okay, because you showed me that spread of them,
Mm-hmm.
and like Captain America and Vision and shit were all in there.
Yeah.
And Bucky, and like at that point they wouldn't really have access to those particular characters because of what Marvel Studios have been doing.
Kind of, yeah, ish.
Yeah.
They would have Namor.
They would have Namor.
I think they would have had Namor.
Okay.
And I wonder, and I not enough to actually go look it up, but I'm curious if they would have at that time had rights to Black Panther, because Black Panther came out of the Fantastic Four. I think his first issue the first appearance was like Fantastic Four 10 or something like that.
Interesting.
It's really early on. So I showed you an image from Marvel's written by I think Kurt Busiek.
Okay.
and painted by Alex Ross.
Yes.
And I think it's 4 long issues, from the point of view of a photographer for the Daily Mail or the Daily Bugle.
It's a very different thing.
very, very different. And book 1 is Golden Age of Marvel, so kind of pre what we understand as Marvel. Then issue 1 would be like the Fantastic Four is the first official like Marvel.
Yeah.
And then kind of going from there. I want to open the movie on young Reed, Sue, Ben, and Johnny at the 1939 New York World's Fair.
Okay.
Not hanging out together. I mean, Ben and Reed would be hanging out together, and then Sue and Johnny would be hanging out together.
That makes sense.
With their parents.
Oh, yeah. They would be very young at this point if we're aiming to do shit in the 60s.
Yeah, like Long Island accented Johnny and Sue. And they kind of do something similar to what I want to do in the first Captain America movie, where young Steve Rogers goes to a world, I think it's a World's Fair. It's like a science fair or something.
Yeah.
And in the background, you see the original Human Torch in a jar or something.
Mm-hmm.
So in the early comics, we're introduced to the Human Torch by the scientist, the inventor. And he's like, look at this thing I made. And then it melts through the glass and people freak out.
Okay.
I don't want to quite do that. I do want the scientist to be there and be like, look at this thing I made, but not with the melting and the things.
Sure.
I want to take that and add a later Marvel incident and combine them. So Namor initially was, depending on who wrote him, more of a villain.
Right. Yeah, I know he's definitely played antagonist. I mean, it's kind of how we see him now, having been introduced in Wakanda Forever.
Yes.
Yeah.
So at one point, Namor is fucking over humanity's bullshit because of World War II.
Fair.
Or what is coming to be World War II.
I get it.
And through like manipulation, somebody's like, hey, you should just flood that city. That'll show them. And he's like, yeah, I'll do that very thing. So I want to have Namor flooding New York during the World's Fair.
Okay.
Pre-Fantastic Four, people are there. And you have the invaders show up to stop him. Now, here's where I would run into an issue of what Jack would actually want to do is have the main people from the invaders show up, which would have been like Captain America, Bucky, the original Human Torch, and his sidekick, Toro.
Toro?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then not Whizzer, who is basically the Flash, who shows up in an episode of Jessica Jones.
Huh.
Yeah, there's an episode where I think it is. Yeah, I'm pretty sure like the Wizard shows up. He's a speedster. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. And if it was me, if I was allowed to do what I wanted to do, I would include the original, the Vision, but that might be too confusing for modern day fans. So just
and that was literally the same year that Age of Ultron had come out. So it was,
okay. Well, we don't have to do him, but like pick one of the other two like Golden Age heroes. I think there was like a detective woman and like a flaming skull guy we can bring in.
Okay.
Anyway, they fight Namor and stop him, but in doing so and wreaking the havoc that Namor do sometimes, Sue and Reed are both inspired, but by different people. So Reed is inspired by Captain America and what he's able to do for humanity.
Sure.
Sue is inspired by Namor's plight. But they both leave this event wanting to be more than the normal person.
Yeah.
So Reed goes into sciences. Johnny sees the Human Torch and wants to like kick ass. Ben like big fight stuff.
Sure. That seems to track.
Yeah.
Clobber. Yes.
I'm feeling Clobber.
It's giving Clobber.
As much as I'm like leaning into the cheesy, I don't know how I would do it's clobbering time without it being obnoxious.
It's always going to be obnoxious. Just let it be.
And along those lines, I don't know how I would do Galactus and not have it be ridiculous.
It's an inherently ridiculous thing. This giant man thing that just gobbles planets.
Like, he doesn't take like a big spoon and start eating. So at least there's not that.
Or could
be. French. So from
takes
there...
takes a little blowtorch to France like a creme brulee and scoops it up.
The Simpsons version of the Fantastic Four.
That's exactly what they would do.
God damn it.
Oh, fuck.
So that's kind of the setup. From there, I know where I want the characters to develop.
Okay.
I don't know the story behind it. So I want to have Reed be more of a futurist, which is what he was originally intended to be.
Sure. That makes a lot of sense.
In the comics, he still is, especially with people who know how to write that character. It seems to be you either write Reed as a futurist who sees the big picture in such a way that people who live in the moment get hurt, like his wife and kids.
Yep.
Or you get the other side where they write him as an evil mad scientist, and he's a dickhead.
Yeah.
Which is why I hate the Civil War comic.
Because that's kind of the route that they take with him.
Fucking Millar.
Yeah.
He's like, well, Reed would understand the greater impact of superheroes being evil, and he's going to lock them in the negative zone forever. Shut up, Mark. God damn it. I want Johnny to basically join up with the CIA or like work to be an agent within the CIA.
Yeah.
What did I have Ben doing? I think I wanted him to be like a pilot, like an actual pilot. And additionally to them being inspired by the different invaders that show up, they're also becoming inspired as adults by Kennedy's mission for space.
Okay.
So they're all kind of brought together in a covert mission to use less than legal means to go to outer space. This is like pre-Apollo 11, pre the Apollos in general, but you have like Reed bringing in Ben as the pilot. I want to have like a very specific study for Sue as a scientist.
Okay.
So like the way they normally write Reed is he's science good at everything because he is. But
typically scientists have a specialty.
Right. So I want him to have one specialty and her have another specialty, which is something that they kind of did in 2015.
Yeah, like you see he's more interested in like kind of quantum entanglement and and all that kind of shit. And she's pattern girl.
Right.
It's
like I like him being a quantum physicist.
Yeah.
I want to find something that's more appropriate for her.
Mm-hmm.
And in the comics, she's very interested. She's almost more of an archaeologist. Like you'll see her. One of the reasons she like buddies around with Namor, besides
fucking,
is because Namor's like, yes, Atlantia, whatever it's called in Marvel Universe.
Yeah.
You want to check this shit out? And she's like, hell yeah.
Who says no to that?
Right. Or they're like, we found this species of flying slugs. And she's like, cool, I'll check out those flying slugs planet.
Yep.
But I don't think that she could evolve into that character. But in the first one, I don't think she's quite the flying slug research lady.
Sure.
So here's the bits and pieces that I have. They do the mission. I want to keep the aspect of the government using them for like psyop stuff.
Nefarious means.
Specifically, if you recall, the 60s were rife with that.
Yeah, I had a feeling you were going to tie in some of that.
Yeah. So like Johnny has joined the CIA.
Yeah.
He is one of the Men in Black type characters.
Okay.
And he's assigned to basically like watch over these goons. The types of missions they're sent on, however, once they get their powers, is overthrowing governments.
Of course. Yeah, there's going to be some regime change kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
They're getting sent to like Nicaragua and Central America and shit like that.
Would you like to know what government they're sent to fuck with?
Latveria? Yeah. Hey, there it is.
So I would like to...
So that's where you're working Victor in.
Yeah. Because I want to have this sympathetic character who's essentially like a refugee from Latveria because of the things that the United States government has done.
Okay.
So I feel like he would be a little bit more sympathetic so that when he does go back to Latveria to fix things and become a dictator, you almost kind of understand where he's coming from because he's trying to fix things for his people.
It's a little bit like what Marvel did with Baron Zemo in terms
Yeah.
of Sokovia.
A little bit.
Between Age of Ultron and Civil War.
Yeah, but I want mine to be played by Rami Malek.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
I have like a rough cast. I'm not completely sold on it,
Okay.
but for Reed, it's Adam Driver, who's one of the front runners right now anyway.
I would love that. I just love him, and I love him
Yeah.
so much. Ever since I first saw him on HBO's Girls, and he was just like, it's bad. Don't honestly, don't watch it.
Okay.
It's
But it's got the good soup.
good soup. I mean, it was way before good soup, but but he's just like this awkward mountain of a man, just like in this weird relationship with this bizarre narcissistic woman.
Right.
Yeah, it's a weird show.
Okay.
It's a very weird show. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend actually watching it, like, especially considering how rough it gets later on. Anyway,
I mean, I saw him as Kylo Ren. I think it was the first thing I saw him in.
yeah, I mean, that was I loved him as Kylo Ren.
I'm like, I don't like this movie, but I love what you're doing with that character.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. For Sue, I kind of struggled, given the time period, which has been like 2015.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to give Alison Brie a shot.
Ooh, I'm all for giving Alison Brie more opportunities. Hell yeah.
Because I specifically want her to play a Susan Storm who has a lot of great ideas.
Yes,
but it's a fucking 60s.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, sweetheart, where's the coffee?
I think she would be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, she was in Mad Men, so
she was. Yeah.
But that's kind of pulling off of the various women who helped us get to the moon that no one talks about.
Yeah. See Hidden Figures.
Yep. Or Jack Black's mom.
Oh yeah, that's right.
It's fucking weird.
That is fucking weird. I forget about that sometimes. Every time I relearn it, it's like, huh.
What? I have nothing against Jack Black, but like one of these people should be more famous than the other.
Yeah,
and it should be your mom.
It should be his mom. I mean, I love the band, but
yeah,
it's true.
He would probably agree.
Yeah, honestly.
Well, I don't know what his relationship is like with his mom.
I think it's pretty good, actually.
Okay, good.
I think.
Good for him.
I could be wrong. Feel free to correct me. Who else do you have?
For Johnny Storm, I had two options. Because, like, one makes more sense for what I want to do with the character.
Okay.
The other one makes more sense for being Sue's brother.
Okay.
So if I'm going with the familial vibe, I would like to audition Adrian Brody. Because he's got like the smarminess from Johnny without going overboard. But I don't know how well I'd like him as like a stick up his ass CIA agent.
Yeah. I'm torn.
Yeah.
What's your other option?
Because like for the Johnny character, I specifically want him to reflect growth over the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
Like he changes with the times in a negative way. All of the characters are affected by the civil rights movement, the evolution of the United States in that time period. I definitely don't have an obsession with it.
Why would you have that?
We didn't make an entire movie about that already,
No,
did we?
no. It's not like we shot that entire feature in 2 weeks. Yeah.
Aaron Paul.
Oh,
yeah,
interesting. Yeah, I'm really torn on that one. That's
why I'm like, I would audition these two guys.
Yeah.
I'd have them both read with Alison Brie and who I have cast as Ben Grimm, which is Winston Duke.
Winston Duke.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Which
I do love Winston Duke.
Him and Adam Driver are probably the two I'm most excited about. Well,
seeing them play off each other would be really interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, I really like that.
Because there's some other actors I looked at for the part, but specifically I wanted to see the interaction between Winston Duke and Adam Driver.
Yeah.
However, cinema has a bit of an issue with taking a person of color and changing their color.
What do you mean
within the movie?
What are you talking about?
So what I don't
what could you possibly be saying here, Jack?
I don't want him to, for the first 20, 30 minutes be.
Oh, okay. I understand what you mean. So in terms of turning a black person into another thing.
Right.
Yeah. Like an animal or a thing. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It is a problem. It's a persistent issue.
And considering he's like the only person of color, well, would you consider Rami Malek a person of color?
Yeah.
He's from Egypt.
Yeah.
Egypt, right?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
But like of the heroes, taking the one person of color and then changing him into a big orange monster.
Yeah.
However, I did, and I honestly don't know how this comes across. So please tell me if this is horrible and I need to go back to therapy. I mean, I do need to go back to therapy, but I was like, all right, one, I don't really like that Ben is an orange rock.
So you're thinking of having the rock just match his skin tone?
Not quite. I started looking at other rock types.
Mm-hmm.
And as I've said, I've dated many people who have like large gem collections.
Sure.
And I've always really liked obsidian.
Mm.
So having him be obsidian with where the rocks connect, where the cracks, not cracks, but like where the creases are, having that glow orange.
I mean, maybe, but obsidian's also like not the strongest rock, to my understanding.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I kind of like the idea of all these like glass shards kind of like flying every time he gets into a fight. But you're not wrong. It's not a great rock to be.
I'm not sure how I feel about it, honestly.
Yeah. In general, I have yet to see a live action version of the Thing that doesn't look ridiculous to me.
Yeah.
I believe that current day Marvel will probably be able to pull it off because they did the whole thing with Korg.
They did do the whole thing with Korg, yes.
It was the first time I've seen a Rockman that I was like, well, that's not completely stupid.
I mean,
that wasn't a Muppet.
I mean, he's completely stupid.
Yeah.
But the execution is not completely stupid.
Right. There is a version of that already exists in, I think, Matt Fraction's version of the Fantastic Four.
Really?
Which followed Jonathan Hickman, which I'm definitely there it is.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good look.
So that is, I'm showing Joe a picture of the Thing from like Earth 265800, whatever it is.
Yeah.
They go to all kinds of planets with different Fantastic Fours, but this iteration of the Thing has a solid black rock with kind of like orange
glow highlights coming through the cracks. Yeah.
So like I would want to see some kind of concept drawings of that, but I like really want Winston Duke to be the Thing. Like I think he would just be fucking awesome.
I think he'd just be very good in the role.
So I don't know like how to be sensitive, staying true to the character. Oh, and the other thing is he becomes the Thing, right?
Yeah.
In this version, I'm so fucking tired of the Thing being sad that he turned into a giant strong rock man. Mm-hmm. Winston's fucking psyched. He is so goddamn pumped to become this strong, dope hero.
Yeah.
It's only when other people see him that he starts to feel shitty about himself. Oh, and I know the other thing I wanted to do with that character is have him be specifically Air Force.
Okay. Because of the pilot angle?
Yeah.
Okay.
So when Reed's like, okay, well, I need a pilot for whatever version of the accident we're going to do, I want my friend. And they're like, but that's a black man and it's the 60s. And he's like, fuck you.
Get over it. He's a
Get over
pilot.
it. Yeah. He's an excellent pilot and he's Winston Duke.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know what the answer is there. I'm also not, I'm a white dude. I would want other opinions that are not the white dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that is where the general realm of what I'm thinking for that character.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
I do think that I think there would need to be some tooling regarding like the turning a black man into a rock monster.
Yeah.
But I don't know, maybe recoloring the character that way is helpful. Maybe that would make more sense.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Who knows? Again, I'm another white dude, so I'm not, it's not really my place. But
and I do want to have Alicia Masters in here somewhere.
Okay.
I want her to be more of the counterculture, almost like a hippie artist.
I like that
because I want to have like all representations of the culture of the time.
Yeah.
And like she's not gonna give a shit if he's A, a person of color, B,
a rock man.
A rock man.
Yeah.
especially if he's like a smooth rock now. I don't know why the texture's the thing that I'm sticking on. Like, I don't like scratchy.
Yeah. That's why he's not pumice.
Oh, God. And then for Victor Von Doom, having this character be a refugee.
Yes,
who
you mentioned that.
I think I want to kind of do like a Project Paperclip type deal where the government brings him in to work on stuff. They're like, we can't say that because you're from this like communist country or some other reason that we're overthrowing this government.
Yeah.
But you're brilliant, so we're going to bring you in. And he's like, all right, this definitely won't
blow up in my face.
Blow up in your face. Wink. But also finding out that like Reed, Sue, Johnny, and Ben are the reasons that his country is now ran by a dictator.
Mm-hmm.
And his people, his family, his friends have all either died or live under this dictatorship because of U.S. government interference.
Yes.
Probably going to put a chip on his shoulder. So those are the ingredients. I also wanted to toy with... So Namor is captured at the beginning, right, by the invaders.
Sure.
So he's still under lock. He's still locked up in this government facility. And the conflict, because I think the two Fantastic Four movies with Chris Evans actually do a good job of having the family fight with each other or like having conflict within the family without it being so much that you're like, these guys shouldn't even be together.
Yeah.
Like there's conflict. It's family. They resolve it, but it's interesting to watch.
Okay.
So Sue eventually frees Namor.
Oh.
And I want this to be like the first film. I want the second film to be like the repercussions of Latveria being, fucked with. The first film being Sue frees Namor, who's trying to save his people.
Mm-hmm.
Johnny, being a government stooge, sides with Reed, the scientist.
Okay.
Whereas Ben knows what it's like to be fucked over by the government, sides with Sue.
Interesting.
And I guess the issue I'm having is I want to mess with the negative zone over Atlantis, but I don't know how to incorporate that. I should also mention that like I had no idea what I was going to do with this movie until literally yesterday, because that's how my brain apparently works.
Fair.
But this is an idea I would love to write like a 12-issue maxi series.
Okay. With
this concept of having these characters deal with real life events, interacting with the culture of the time. Yeah. But I think I want I'm worried because it's a little close to Stranger Things, but I want the government to have already been working on a teleporter for Cold War reasons.
Yeah.
Which then they discover the negative zone, which is...
It's a little Stranger Things, but...
Yeah. It's also not an original concept.
No, it's not.
It's like a science fiction kind of...
Yeah.
But I think that's the journey that I want them to go on to get their powers. Maybe having some kind of combination of the two where it's like, it's a rocket called the Marvel 1 that Ben's going to drive like a DeLorean into the negative zone. So those are the pieces. The overall story, I don't know. Hey man, it's been a rough month. Fuck you.
I mean, I think there's a lot of really interesting pieces there. You've set up some interesting drama, an interesting world where there's a lot to explore, a lot of depth, and also doesn't shy away from like what this property is.
Yeah. If instead of it being the Avengers meets Cronenberg, it's more Mad Men meets, I don't know, cheesy 60s comics.
Sure.
Yeah. Because in a 60s era, I can see someone saying like, we're the Fantastic Four, and like that sounding good to them. I watched like a Cinema Sins on the Chris Evans Fantastic Four, and they're like, Victor Von Doom, you might as well call him like Baddie McBad Guy. I'm like, yes, but
have you read a single comic?
And there's like, how many of these characters have the same like letter in their first and last name? Sue Storm, Reed Richards.
Like, again, have you read a single comic?
Like, these properties have been around for
a long time. That's part of the problem with CinemaSins is that it's real fucking nitpicky over shit that doesn't really fucking matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I don't know that I really fixed it so much as threw the entire fucking thing away and started from scratch.
Yeah, honestly, this is you page one rewrote everything,
which is what everyone did on this movie
so
anyway.
You're just continuing the tradition, man. That's all it is.
Nice script you have here. How about we throw it away?
How about we just
yeah. So what do you think of that fix, huh?
I think it's got a lot of potential. I would be curious to see what you did with some time to like actually flesh it out and like get a firmer outline on it.
More than 24 hours.
Yeah, more than 24 hours basically. But I think the bones of something really interesting are there. I like the casting choices that you've made. Yeah, I think it has a lot of potential to be something good and different.
So Marvel, if you would like me to write that 12-issue maxi series, just you let me know.
Yeah, I mean, you could always reach out to us at DeRazzledPodcast@gmail.com.
Marvel or you lovely listeners.
Yes. Thank you, all of you lovely listeners, for checking us out and spending another couple of weeks here covering a movie with us. If you have not already, please follow us on the various social media platforms you can find us on, at Twitter at DeRazzledPod, Facebook at DeRazzledPodcast, Instagram and TikTok at DeRazzled_podcast. As I mentioned, the email address I said a second ago, you can email us to tell us what you think of our fixes, what you'd like to see us cover, or any merch you'd like to see pop up in our Redbubble store. And of course, let us know what you thought of the episode. Please rate and review everywhere you possibly can, on Spotify, Good Pods, iTunes, Stitcher, wherever you happen to listen and can rate. Please do that, as it helps more people get exposed to the fun and interesting nonsense that we get up to here.
Yeah. Jerry Batman.
Jerry Batman, everyone.
Merry Jerry Batman. All right,
Merry Jerry to everybody. Thank you for joining us. We hope to see you next week, where we will be sure to
razzle dazzle.